Death da, Obi Nacken. Welcome to podcast number 151. So last Friday, early start for us, 8:25 Glyn Valley, for a direct funeral again. And then after that, we was back there again for Loveday's funeral. Now, Loveday was somebody I've known forever. She was one of 9 children, actually. Her maiden name was Carter. And there were 7 girls and 2 boys. And I grew up with her boy Mark. We used to hang around with he a bit, and cousins like Howard and Rob Stolsky and everything. So we had a good connection with all the family, really. And we had a lovely crowd there at Glyn Valley, looking back over Loveday's life. And a big chunk of her life was darts. You may well have seen, for those of you that follow our RJ Bray Facebook page, I did put a photo up of the floral tribute, which was a dartboard, which looked fantastic. It even had real darts in it, treble 20, bullseye. Highest finish you can get. Fantastic. But Loveday must have been one of the best dart players, I would say, in my opinion, to come out of Wadebridge. She started after she met her husband, Tommy. He was into darts, and it just went from there, really. I think we might have mentioned Tommy's mother and father a while or two ago, maybe with Graham Hawke. That was Darky King and Nesta, and they were up Trevanson there, so a big Trevanson connection. But Loveday, over the years, she was absolutely fantastic. She was Cornwall champion, and I think she was playing for England. And if I'm right, they were tied 2-2, and it was her time to go up for the final leg. And she won it, so England won 3-2. So pressure there, but she did it. And also, she played Maureen Flowers twice. Well, Maureen was one of the best darts players in the country, women darts players, and she beat her both times. Absolutely fantastic. So she also, another thing they did say, I think it was the top 16 in the country were asked to go on a TV show. Now, I can't remember what the program was called, but Fred Truman, I think, was the host of it. And they had to fight out, between them all. And I'm sure that's one of the things that Loveday actually won. And I think that's one of the times that she beat Maureen Flowers. So very interesting, fantastic. She got trophies for everything. And it was a lovely send-off, and I'm sure she would have really loved it. So when I went in and I come back with John Moon, because John Moon worked for us that day. And John actually did play quite a few years with Loveday, so he knew her well. John, very good darts player as well. And we were just talking about different things, and he mentioned the Dry League. So I said, well, I've heard of the Dry League before, John, but what is it? So it was brilliant. He was giving me all this info as we were driving back. So I just put the thing on the notes on record. So I just tried to make a few notes, when I could, or tried to remember it when I got back to the office and that. But what he said was that the Dry League started in Wadebridge area in 1946, and it was started after the war by somebody, I don't know who, I can't remember if he told me, who wanted to start a league to encourage the youngsters to play darts that weren't allowed to go into pubs. And I think it was called the St Mimvan District Dry League, if I'm right. So it must have obviously started St Mimvan way, but it encompassed all of Wadebridge area. And he said there was 48 teams in it, which was absolutely brilliant. But of course, they couldn't play in pubs. And he started reeling off where the matches was taking place, like garages, barns, huts, anything that wasn't licensed. I think there was a place at White Rock, whether it was a shed or something, where the allotments were. Used to play up there. F&J Martin, that was then turned obviously to Jewson's, their Cribot, they used to play there. Down the Foundry as well, they used to play. Absolutely fantastic. And also Mr. Daw at Trevanson, he allowed them to put a hut on the ground up there, up Trevanson, and they played up there. And I can remember going there, I think I might have said before, when I used to take me music theory exams with Miss Cox and seeing the dartboards up there then, But a fantastic thing. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't think it's half as popular today as it was back then. But it was brilliant just to hear some of that history from John Moon. And then I was talking to me mate yesterday, Mervyn Main, and Merv, I was talking to him about what Mooner had said. And then he just started off, because, I mean, Merv's a very good darts player too, just started reeling off, I think it was like 7 or 8 teams that was in Padstow, in all the pubs going back a bit. And he said that's when the teams, there was 8 members in a team. So you can see that going back a few years, darts was a very big sport here in our area, most probably throughout all of Cornwall. And we produced some very good darts players. Like I say, John Moon was another one. He was very good. But Loveday, absolutely brilliant. And she'll be sadly missed. Lovely lady, lovely family. They really are. And I think she would have loved how everything went on the day. So then the weekend come, quiet-wise with work, I would say, which was lovely to, have it a bit quiet. So it was a mixture of running, cycling, walking. We did manage to get the camper van out. We haven't got E out for a while, the splitty, so that was good. Put a few photos on Facebook. And yeah, mixed in with a bit of paperwork. So obviously that was the weekend. And then it just goes too quick, really, doesn't it? And then back to work on Monday. And Monday, we had dear Barb's funeral. So I've known Barbara and her family for a good few years now, really have. Obviously, her husband, Robert, he used to play the organ there in Glyn Valley and also played the piano for Wadebridge Melvoice Choir, amongst other things. And also Sue, their daughter, she was manager there for years at Glyn Valley. So known them all well. I can remember Robert, back when there weren't such things as CDs being played at crematoria. These days, you don't even get CDs because you have to order the music up to 2 days before. It's now with a company called Obitus now. And as long as it's been released legally somewhere, they should be able to track it down, but sometimes they need that little bit of extra time. So you've got to give them at least 2 days notice to get the tracks. They won't accept tracks from YouTube because quite often the things could have been unofficially recorded or copied sort of thing. And with copyright, they won't, if you sent something to them via YouTube, they won't use it. But before all that came along, all we had was the organ. So Robert would be there. He was the main one for years. So he would play something as we'd come in. We'd pretty much always have hymns, and then he would play again afterwards. So, got really close with Robert over the years. And, of course, then Sue, when she worked there at the crematorium. So we had a lovely service down at Penmount, and Sue actually took it herself. Very good, very brave thing for her to do, really. But all was well. I even walked their dog, Bobby, in front of the hearse and then in front of Barbara's coffin as well. So that was a lovely little touch. And Bobby left his mark, put it that way. So amongst other funerals we've had this week, we had Collins up St. Teth. And like I said, Loveday was one of 9 children. Well, Colin was one of 8. And dear of him, I think there's only one brother left now. So Colin was the penultimate one of his siblings, but now he's gone and there's just one of them left. But that was a lovely service again. Church was full. The church looked lovely, actually, because they just had their flower festival. So all the arrangements were still looking good in there. And we left the farm and Colin was in a cart that they'd refurbished over the years. One of the members of the family refurbished it, but that cart was decades old. And I mean decades. It really was. And there was just enough room to put Colin's coffin in the back of the cart to be towed behind the Defender Land Rover up to church. And again, I did put a photo on our RJ Bray Facebook page just so you could see it. If you can't picture it, tin the biggest of carts, I tell you. I mean, they're, twin the full length of a coffin, but it was proper. The bearers, they rode up in the cart as well. It was quite a sight, really. And I think 'tis one that Colin would have appreciated. So say all was well there. Other things we've done during the week, again, we do hire our limos out to other funeral directors. And then we've had a couple attended direct funerals this week as well, where we get into Glyn Valley for 9 o'clock. And it's the ones where you allow 10 minutes in the chapel, up to about a dozen people. You can talk, you can play music. And they were both, again, very intimate. There is something about a small gathering. I know I've said it before. And like big gatherings are fantastic, but the small ones, it doesn't take anything away, really. We had 2 lovely little services there yesterday and today, really. Also yesterday we had Dave's funeral, much younger than me. It does make you think, doesn't it? He was a real fighter. He was so sad. He passed away. Obviously we did his father's funeral a few years ago now, but some of his mates, just a few close mates, rode their bikes in front of theirs. And there must have been a couple hundred, I would say, coming up there in Glyn Valley. Luckily, the weather was nice because they was parking on the grass, parking everywhere. And there was more stood outside than there was inside. But luckily, they got video speakers there now so people could hear what was going on. But I say it was a terribly sad funeral. But I think he would have liked it. The music we played, brilliant. So, yeah, that was good. And then one other funeral I will mention this week was Jan's funeral. Irish lady, but she was a darling. That sounded like it was a bad thing. And Tinnator, I didn't mean it like that. That came out wrong, didn't it? Irish lady, lovely woman, her and Bob. They moved to Wadebridge, I think, in the 1970s. And they took over the run of the Conservative Club here in Wadebridge. And, been here ever since. Lovely family, grew up with their kids. So we had a lovely service there today. Some faces I hadn't seen for such a long time. And all was well there today. But that's another old bit of Wadebridge, really, that's gone on now. All was well. One nice bit that surprised me that come up on Facebook this week was a post by Golden Charter. Now, I would have mentioned them before. 'Tis through they that we, sort out our prepayment plans, sort of thing, our funeral plans. And what we actually do, we do the one that's called the Independent Way, where we see families and we find out exactly what they want. So it is based on our prices down here and everything. But, they put a lovely thing up, actually mentioning this podcast, which is brilliant. And, it did catch me off guard, really. I wasn't expecting that. So that went out, obviously, across the country. Numbers of the podcast listeners is just growing all the time. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you all. I think somewhere you can put reviews. And I see a few people have, but I don't know how to read them. You can put reviews, you can like it, you can subscribe. I ain't got a clue how you do any of it. But thank you to everyone that has. I think it helps get more publicity. Obviously, I don't make any money out of this talk, just do it for fun. But if you want to like it, subscribe it, do a review. If I can track the reviews down one day, I'll thank you for them then, as long as they're good ones. Right, well, I've talked enough this week, too much as usual. So now to the last part of my interview with Graham Hawke, known to some of you as Albert. And this week we talk about Wadebridge School and one of the best pop groups ever to come out Wadebridge, in my humble opinion, because I was in it, Federation. So here we go. So I hope you enjoy it. And then I'll speak to you directly with me Cornish word of the week and me Cornish dialect. So here it is.
And then a couple of weeks later, I nearly choked on my cornflakes. Wadebridge School.
God, yeah.
God, wonderful. I mentioned Mother a lot because she was like the rock as a family, really.
Yeah.
The coordinator and peacemaker and everything else. And I said, do you know, I think I'll apply for this. She said, do you think you're ready for it? I said, yeah, of course I am. She said, if you make a mess of it, you'll have to emigrate.
Yeah, I love that.
So
brilliant.
I said, no, I shouldn't make a mess of it. So anyway, I was very self-confident at that point, but didn't regret it. But anyway, I applied for it. And in teaching, it's pretty horrible, really. You have you did then, a 6-week window from the time the application date closed. If you didn't hear anything in the 6 weeks, tough, you hadn't got the job. They didn't send you no, you failed.
No.
You know, or you'd either get an invite to interview or nothing. No. And the weeks were ticking over. I wasn't getting anything. And then the last week, the letter came. Oh. You've been invited for interview.
Brilliant.
I was absolutely over the moon. I thought, if I can get there and they don't like me, I can live with that. But to think I'd never been given the chance, that would have been so different. So I'm getting a bit emotional because it was my dream job, really.
Totally. Oh. So the interview went well and you got it?
It did, yeah. Mr. Goblin was up there and of course it was a bit awkward for them because a lot of the governors knew me. Yeah. I went to school with Mark Hemwood and his dad was the chairman of the governors, you know, Mr. Johns, the chemist.
Bob Johns.
All these characters, and they knew me. And Mr. Goblin told me after, on the same, it was a whole day of interviewing. There was 5 of us there and I was selected. And he asked me to come back in. We've chosen you, but would you like to accept the job? Yes, please. You know. Yeah. So I stayed there for half an hour having a chat, and he said, it wasn't easy for us today, because he said, I told the governors we are not here to bring this boy home. Because he said, I know what the Cornish are like. Yeah. And he said, I've told them that we are here to pick the best candidate on the day, as we see it. If that is him, then so be it. Yeah. He said, I'll give you the same advice that Frank Hemwood gave to me. And he said, you'll probably know this already. He said, when I became the headmaster, he said, you can lead the Cornish, but you can't drive them. Yeah, exactly. And he said, I'm sure you will have been aware of that. I said, yes, I intend to, you must do what you say, not tell them one thing and do another. Yeah. That's what it means. Yeah. But it gelled up there. It just worked, really. It was magic.
So that was late 70s?
1979.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And you were just starting the fourth year, year 10 now.
Yeah. And then you started the guitar club?
Yeah, I said to Mr. Goblin, I said on the interview, I took with me a little sample of things I'd done creatively and to prove that I had organisational skill from Oakhampton. And I said I started a guitar club here, and I gave out some of these sheets. And I said I've designed, and the whole school uses a set of revision notes for maths, which I'd done. And here's samples of those, I was giving these samples out. I was selling myself as well as I could. Because it comes to a point in the interview where they say, do you want to ask us any questions, you see? So I said at that point, yes, if I got the job here, I said, I'd like to start a guitar club at some point. Would that be acceptable? Yeah. Or have you got one? I'd like to be involved. And Mr. Goblin said, yes, that would be most acceptable. Yeah. Brilliant. So, but I said, I'm not sure. I wouldn't really want to maybe start the first year. No. Because I know now I'm going to be the head of maths, which is a massive responsibility. And I want to do that well. But I said, I'm sure I can do the both. And that evening, in the chat before I came home that day, Mr. Goblin said, I'd like you to start the guitar club immediately. Oh, get away. Because he said the children will see you in a different way. Yeah. And he said, for you, it'll be a good way to meet the children in a different way. That's right. Part of the school community. Yeah. And that's what happened. I started the guitar club. I remember I sang, you came to the first
Yeah.
session, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I think I sang Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
That was the number one at the time.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones I could do.
Yeah.
And I explained, played little twiddly bits of different styles. And
Yeah.
I said, well, if you want to join, come back next week.
Yeah.
And room full, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Had
it
about
was
30 of
brilliant.
us in the lecture theatre.
Absolutely brilliant, yeah.
You and Al Nance were there.
Yeah.
And loads of others who went on to play. It's a lovely atmosphere. I used to enjoy that.
Of course, we had our little group that we hadn't done much, which was Steve Treadwell had started
that came up,
Yeah, because I had to do the audition because he wanted somebody that could sound like Elvis, which I could do an half-decent Elvis impression, believe it or not.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, that came back, if you like, because we used to have dinner on the stage in the senior hall at that time. And I was in there eating my dinner one day, and when I'd finished and was coming out into the main corridor, and there was 3 students there. I knew Sally Rowe. She was in my form as a form teacher, but I didn't know the other 2 at that point. And that was Steve Treadwell and Jonathan Hooper.
Yeah.
And Jonathan was my cousin, but I'd been away teaching. I didn't recognise him.
No.
Derek Hooper was a cousin through, and Ida, my father's sister's side. Yeah. And so anyway, they were there, and Sally said, because she knew me at that time, the others didn't. She said, "Mr. Hawke, could we have a word, please?" I said, "Yes, certainly, Sally. What is it?" And she said, "The 3 of us have got a little band we're trying to get together. We already play in the music room some dinner time. But," she said, "we've heard that you used to have a pop group at your last school." I said, "Yeah, I used to run guitar club and pop bands, folk bands." So she said, "We'd like you to come down and hear us to give you any tips." So I couldn't resist, could I?
No, exactly.
So I went down there, and Steve was on the piano.
That's right, yeah.
Sally had the clarinet at that time, I remember, and Jonathan on drums. And they were playing, a bit of like almost jazz, really.
Yeah.
And they were a good little group. But they said, "We want to do more poppy stuff." And Steve said, "I like the Beatles. Dad loves the Beatles." And Jonathan said, "Yeah, we want to let rip a bit, And Sally said, "I don't mind what I play. I can play keyboards as well." And I said, "We could do with a singer. You could do with a singer as well as Steve, get harmonies, something going." But I said, mainly you need a bass player of some sort.
Yeah.
Because although the piano's bass, you need either double bass or preferably electric bass. And I said, you need a guitar, really. And that's the heart of your band then.
Yeah.
So I said, I tell you what, in my guitar club, there's several guitarists who are more experienced than others. I said, there's a couple there in your age range. David Bray and Alan Nance, I think they're the 2 best at that time.
Yeah.
I said, they may be interested.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we know them. We know them." So that's, and you said Steve came, did he?
Yeah, that's right. He advertised auditions because he was really into like Elvis. He was. And so that's how kind of, it all fell in together really. And
so once I came along to see if it worked, and I had my guitar, and of course the rest is history, isn't it?
Oh, brilliant.
I couldn't resist playing with you then.
No.
And I could play, the drums as well. So although Jonathan was a good drummer, there was 1 or 2 little tips I could tell him sometimes.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant drummer, actually, because his dad was a drummer.
Yeah,
Derek was as
that's
well.
right, yeah.
He could do some things I couldn't, but in some songs I knew the trick, which he hadn't got.
Exactly.
And so forth. And I taught you to play bass because you needed bass.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 girls who joined, Fiona and Julie.
Yeah.
They came to me quite separately. I didn't know either of them. There they were one dinner time at the end of the morning school bell. I was leaving my classroom. "Mr. Hawke, could we have a word, please?" There were these 2 girls. Fiona Crumpton, she was tall, wasn't she?
That's right.
And Julie Lander, slightly shorter. But they were friends, obviously. And they said, "We've heard you got a pop group going." And I said, "Yeah, it started." They said, "We always wanted to sing in a pop band." do you need any singers? And I said, well, we got Steve Treadwell, who plays, he sings Elvis type stuff mainly. And we got Sally Rowe. And they said, what do you sing? And I said, we don't mind, really. You know, any songs that's in the charts.
Yeah.
Or we'll sing backing tracks or anything. So
Yeah.
I said, well, I'll tell you what, I have to ask the band what,
Yeah.
you know, what they think. But I said, I'll come back to you on that and come down and have an audition if they agree. So you all agreed at the next practice we had. So they came down and they just fitted in, didn't they?
Yeah, because they were a school year older than us, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
You know, so we just had them for the first
It was
year.
complete unknown. It may not have worked.
No.
But they were willing to give it a go and not say, oh, we want it done this way. And you were all very flexible, or became so. I think Al was the most, he wanted to play more heavy stuff, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was in the White Snake and stuff like that. And when we said we wanted to play the can-can, I said, oh, no, you're going to have a right here. I said, I took him aside one day and I said, look, Al, I said, when you leave school and you have a band of your own, I said, you can play what you like, you get a gang of mates who like the same music, you make up your own songs. I said, you might only play to a small audience of 10 people who like you, but that doesn't matter. And you might catch on, you might be the new thing.
Yeah.
But I said, you're going to be playing in school, local youth clubs here. I said, and everybody in the band has got different musical tastes. You've got to let me choose. You tell me what you would like to play, all of you.
Yeah.
And I opened it out to the whole band then.
Yeah.
And I said, I know whether it's going to be possible.
Yeah.
And work out a version, a cover version, or our own version. Try to get as close as we can. But I said, that's how it works at this age in the school band.
Yeah.
And I had the experience. I knew that was the best way to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So, But we used to have a bit of fun, didn't we, behind the scenes, because we knew, Al's not going to like this one.
Because we did such a wide, like from Everly Brothers to Black Sabbath, didn't we? It was
terrific range.
Yeah.
And you used to do, I used to love your voice in Imagine.
Oh,
John Lennon.
Yeah.
You had that right voice tone for that.
Yeah.
And then nobody could reach high enough for Rock and Roll Damnation, really, but we wanted to do it, and you were screaming your tonsils out and got there.
Oh, it was brilliant. So we had 2 years, didn't we, where we
had 2 years
doing concerts and everything.
We had a repertoire of about 50.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then we recorded the 2 cassettes.
Yeah, Federation.
Yeah,
that was, you'd already technically left school, but we wanted a good recordings made in the school drum studio we used, and it took in my recording equipment. Mr. Booty was the sound engineer. We asked him, and we booked the recording studio for several days, didn't we? We were meeting.
That's right.
Some of you had already got summer jobs. It was an evening thing, but we were there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
The parents were good as gold, you know, and come and collect us. They knew, they trusted me and trusted you all. But we recorded all of the songs. We decided to use some live versions, which we'd made in the town hall, because we used to play for carnival fundraising concerts, Age Concern, for the raising money for the Veterans Centre. Dr. Kinsman Barker, and your father was involved in that.
Right, yeah.
And Mr. Chapman, one of the Jeweller brothers, he was the compere. He was a ball of fun, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Ron. Yeah, they were good times.
Yeah.
So Federation, and then we produced with the master tape. I remember I had all round my house in the front room to hear the final. I spent almost a week solidly editing it. And we had to decide whether to choose the best of slim it down to only half of the tracks and release one. It was cassette in those days, not CD, or to bring out a double album sort of idea. And I suggested one was like rock and roll, heavier stuff, call that Rock Sounds. And the other one was more softer, like top 20 poppy stuff, chart sounds. And we got Mr. Bishop. That's what we went with, that option. And Mr. Bishop, the photographer in Wadebridge, Raymond Bishop, he took the photographs, and I designed the cover. And the printers in Wadebridge, Mr. Sleeman, he printed. No, not Sleeman, Chapman.
Peter
Chapman.
Yeah.
He did all the printing for my masters. And we had because we took orders, we knew we were going to have over 100 made. So I used a upcountry recording studio who specialised in that sort of mass duplication.
Yeah.
And it was very successful, actually. A lot of people still got the...
Yeah, that's
they
right.
turn up on Facebook memories sometimes. Like, look what we found in the loft.
That was brilliant.
The good old days.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went on to have several other bands in school right until almost when I retired.
So how long did you stay teaching?
I was 18 years.
Were you really?
Wadebridge School. Head of maths. I did take an early retirement. I retired when I was 50. The scheme's available at that time, which is not the case these days, is it?
No, exactly.
And we were eligible to apply. And by this time, it was Dr. Thornton, who was the head. He'd been there about 3 years. I thought, things aren't getting any easier, No. I'd found I was diabetic when I was 37. Right. And I lost a lot of weight to control it. Very strict with himself, followed the rules, diabetic type 2, and managed to control it after that with just diet. I'm 76 now, but I don't take any medication. I don't need to.
No, brilliant.
Which is the way to go, I felt. I thought the pressures of teaching are getting more as they do as you get older. To be quite honest, it's logical. But it was the government, whatever political party, they were all trying to make their own mark on education. They seemed to be kicking us around like a football. Yeah. And they bring in, the national curriculum was brought in, which was a good idea to get some sort of consistency across the whole of the country. So if children moved areas, it was compatible more easily. But it was cobbled together in a hurry. Teachers suddenly were told, you're going to do this from September 12 months. And you had this massive wodge of stuff to go through, endless courses. I was going on weekend courses. You'd teach all week, come home, have tea, zoom out to Folly Hall for a course for a week. You'd start being in discussion groups that Friday evening. You'd be hammering away till 9 o'clock. You'd have all Saturday, all Sunday up until 2:30. Then you drove home, had tea, had one evening off, and you're back in for another week teaching. It was really hard. Yeah, exactly. As heads of department, I had to do that. Yeah. Heads of maths in particular, all over the county. And then we had to go back to our school, and it was called the Cascade system. Right. Basically, they were saving money. Yeah. We had to then teach our maths teachers, in my case, in your own time, after school. Yeah. You weren't even given a day to do it or something. No. We learned in 2 days, but we had to have a series of meetings to teach our department. I'd say you had all this pressure was on. We lived through that. GCSEs were brought in, a combination of O-level and CSE. Again, a good idea, but it was cobbled together in a hurry. Yeah. Yeah. The government of the day did not test it. They didn't pilot it. They said, whammo, this is brilliant. Yeah. I think they locked away a lot of educational experts, as they called them, in a National Trust property for 6 weeks and said, come on, design something. That was, the teachers' unions were not consulted until after about 2 years. And then they said, oh, what do you think of it then? And we say, oh, this is rubbish. It'll be this. And then finally it got better. Yeah. But this was going on. There was 2 things I lived through. And I thought, phew, I think early retirement is looking appealing, although it broke my heart in some ways. Because the previous head of maths was B.J. Warren, who's very fondly remembered still. And he taught there 22 years, from the opening of the school in 1957 to when I came along in 1979. And it was a big thing. And I thought, I was hoping to beat his record, to be honest. And I would have done. Because a normal full retirement age for a teacher is 60. Right, yeah. That's when you're entitled to your full pension. Because I went at 50, I'd only done 26 years of teaching service, which is about 3/4 of a pension. So I knew I was letting myself in for a reduced pension, but I felt I could handle that.
Yeah.
A more, what's the word they use these days? Time management or something. Work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, would be better.
Yeah.
And by this time, Uncle Charlie had passed away and father had gone as well. 1986, 1989. And it was just mother and me left at home because I never got married or in a long-term relationship. And she was getting older, and I thought I might as well we always got on well. We did other different hobbies, interests, a big house rattling around.
Yeah.
We weren't under each other's toes. I thought it'd be wonderful to have a few years, go off on day trips.
Yeah.
Now she got older. I eventually, the last 2 years, became her carer.
Yeah.
It all just sort of, for me, worked.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And but it was an element of sadness when I left, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And to leave some of the classes that, it hurt to leave. I had one class, 4-set 1. They had only one more year to go for their GCSE, and that was quite cruel, I felt, to leave them.
Yeah.
And I offered to go back in at any point because I had knowledge of their coursework potential.
Yeah.
It's the new head department, good as she was, and she was good, that I would have known them longer and better.
Totally, yeah.
But they didn't ask me, so that was fine. But it salved my conscience a bit to make that offer.
Totally, yeah.
And anyway, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. Brilliant. Well, I think we've covered a lot.
I enjoyed that. I was a bit nervous about doing it,
Oh,
actually.
dear.
But,
No, it was brilliant. I'm sure I'll come back for more in the future. So, if you'd like to just say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody, from Graham and Albert, or Mr. H, or Mr. Hawke, or numerous other names that's probably called behind my back over the years, which I do not wish to know.
Proper job. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Cheers, Dave.
Well, thank you, Graham. Proper job. I have to say, Graham was the biggest influence on my guitar playing over the years. I got into music, like I say, when I was 6. First thing I can remember is the Beatles. Just loved Lennon, McCartney. The first song I can remember is sitting in Mother's kitchen there in Glen Road, listening to Those Were the Days. Mary Hopkins, I think it was, although I think Lennon and McCartney most probably wrote it, I think, if I'm right. So that's how I got into music. And then after that, the actual guitar playing side of it, because I always loved to strum and sing, but the lead side of it was all down to Graham. And like I say, I was in 4th year at school, and we come along, and he just showed me the pentatonic scale, and I was gone. And you just listen to Graham, because Graham could improvise so well. And through him, I then got into Eric Clapton, Peter Green, Paul Kossoff. I mean, they were such influences. But it was Graham just sowing that seed of improvisation. And anyone that came to see us, because joining the group with Graham, that started then 10 solid years of me practically playing guitar every day of my life, even if it was only for 5 minutes, playing every day of my life. And a lot of the groups, I will try and do a separate podcast on the groups, but a lot of the groups, I couldn't actually sing so high as they were kind of set. So we do our own versions. So we would do heavy versions of like Mad World by Tears for Fears and Enola Gay by OMD. But then I'd add in these blue lead breaks. I'd play for about 10 minutes on a solo sometimes. I'm sure it bored some people. So I got to thank Graham so much for that. Really have such a big influence on my life musically. Like I say, the first group we was in was called Federation. And I tell you what, it took us months to get that name, absolute months, because we could agree on everything in the group, but we couldn't agree on a name. And we were practicing in one of the classrooms, and then one of us just looked up. I can't remember who it was, and saw this word federation. So I thought, well, we'll go for that. So it stuck. So I thought for my Cornish word of the week, I thought I'd do federation in Cornish, which is Cassunian. So that's what it is. And for my Cornish dialect of the week, this week I did see, I can't remember where it was. No, Mother might have said it, actually. I think Mother, I don't know. Somebody said it anyway, that if somebody's under the weather, they're looking a bit wished, call them like a dying duck in a thunderstorm. Like a dying duck in a thunderstorm. So that was the one. But I was talking at work today, and Trina, that works for a certain office, she said, well, my father, he had a slightly different version on that. And he'd say it was like a dying duck in a mud gutter. Like a dying duck in a mud gutter. Now, I'd never heard that one before. So I said to Trina, I think I'll use that one this week. So there it is. So I'm sorry we've gone on so long. This must be one of the longest podcasts I've ever done. And I'm sorry about that, if you're still awake. But I got a lovely interview getting started next week. Somebody else who lives here in Wadebridge. She's lived here about 60 years now. She's well into her 80s. And she said, does it make me Cornish? I said, you nearly there. So we'll start that one next week. So wish ye well, everyone. Speak to you next week. Do Ganas. Carna Bisfecan.